high. It may be very different than what the family is doing next door or across town. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation has teamed up with NPR and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health to study how disadvantaged groups are grappling with the current state of the economy. One startling finding that 35% of Native Americans and 24% of African Americans polled are delaying medical care for a serious illness when only 18% of their white counterparts have had to do the same. Bob Blendin is the lead researcher at Harvard for this poll. The personal experiences of U.S. racial and ethnic minorities poll in difficult times. Good morning to you, Mr. Blendin.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for being here. We'll get back to more of the findings in just a minute, but I want to ask, most people would guess that communities of color that were in a disadvantaged state before severe inflation started to affect the economy would be in a disadvantaged state once inflation or any other circumstance started to affect the economy. So why study it this way? Why is it important to look at this? Didn't we kind of know the answers to begin with?
Some of the problems are more serious than we've seen before. So there are obviously years of disadvantages for minority communities. But in a period where all Americans are reporting problems with inflation, what we found is substantially more Black and Latino families saying that they have a serious problem with inflation and paying price increases. So it's a problem for everybody, but the seriousness of it for these communities. And there are two things that are of somewhat emergent nature that are really highlighting here, because there are things that can be done about them. First is we have a substantially larger number of Black and Latino families who rent, who are fearful of being evicted in the next year. And so while everybody's doing stories about the homeless in their cities, we can increase the number of minority homeless. They are much more at risk of not being able to take the next rent payment and find themselves evicted. And the second thing is a substantially higher share of Black and Latino families say they can't afford to buy food. So it's not that the food is more expensive, they really can't afford to buy it.
Exactly.
And that means you're going to have people in very serious health situations. And the reason why you emphasize two of them, states, localities, voluntary groups in emergency situations, have done things to help out on evictions, and they've done things to do when families can't have food.
Got it.
And that is critically sitting right here. People who can't pay their rent, and that's because rents are going up.
Exactly.
And they just don't have any amount of savings that can compensate for that.
Exactly. Talking about some of the other findings, one of the areas you looked at that sort of feeds into what you were just mentioning was emergency savings, which the amount can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But your research found that 58% of Black and Native American families report not having enough to cover 1 month of their expenses, compared to 53% of Latinos and 36% of whites. Now, what can happen when we start staring these kind of numbers in the face? Because not being able to survive if there are problems for just 1 month is a huge crisis.
Absolutely. And so to make this as tangible as possible, when food and gasoline and everything else you buy goes up, what people do is they rely on their savings. How can they pay the additional amount of money? And Black and Latino communities have no saving bank account that can really deal with paying for the increased prices. And that's what the issue is here. What do I need the savings for? Is everything I'm purchasing, and people listening know exactly what we're talking about here, has suddenly gone up, but my income hasn't gone up. And so I'll just pull from my savings. Except Black and Latino families, many of them have absolutely nothing to fall back on as the prices go up.
Alrighty, so we need to get the word out about starting that emergency fund and really holding tight to it. What do you hope that this information helps cities, counties, or the federal government do now or pay attention to when or if we get into another inflationary period like this again?
The first thing is, when you have people who could be evicted, who don't have enough money to buy food, You can deal with that over a short term through very emergency things that could be federal, state, local, or voluntary organizations. But you have to know that you're in some emergent situation. So this isn't something that has to go on. But as long as those inflation numbers are high, you have living where you are families who are really on the edge. And so you can do things in an emergency. And on the issues that I mentioned, in many communities, they did not wait for the federal government. They did things to help at least postpone evictions and to make sure that people have a way of getting the food their household needs.
All righty, we're going to have to put a pin in it there. Huge issue that this study addresses, and getting people on the front end to look at some of what can be done at the lowest level and at the highest level with the federal government to help families that were already struggling and are being even more negatively impacted by inflation. Bob Blunden from Harvard, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.